you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years,
The sickest NHL podcast. Brought to you by TCS Customs and Logistics. Moving pieces, delivering peace of mind. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here on the Sick Podcast Network. He is Pierre McGuire. I am Jimmy Murphy. We have arrived in the 514, Pierre. We are back in Montreal. We're getting ready for the Four Nations Faceoff tomorrow, where we will be broadcasting live before every game on game days, 6 to 7 p.m. at McLean's Public House, 1420 Peel Street. Really looking forward to this, Pierre. It's driving in, coming into Montreal. I just posted on Instagram, and I always love when I see the Five Roses sign. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I sure do.
Yeah, that lets me know I'm back. I'm back in one of my favorite cities, if not my favorite city outside of Boston.
It's a pretty special place. There's no question about it. Montreal's outstanding.
Yep, it is. And it's such a great hockey city. One could argue the hockey mecca of the world. I think people in Toronto might argue no, but I'm going to stick with Montreal. I'm glad to be here. Four Nations practices are already underway. They had their media day today, Pierre. The lineups are getting established, the forward lines, the D pairings. We have a starting goalie for Canada. We'll get to that in a second. But first, I want to tell everybody about our wonderful guest today. We're going to be having a Pittsburgh Penguins themed episode today, but one of the people on there will have some great international experience, and that is Hall of Famer Mark Recchi will be joining us at the bottom of the hour. But before that, we'll bring on Pittsburgh Penguins longtime announcer Paul Steigerwald will be joining us here on the Eye Test. So looking forward to that. Get their take on the Penguins players that are here, on their experiences, whether it's Paul covering international hockey or Mark playing in it. And just their take on the current things around the NHL as well. But Pierre, just how has your day been? How was your ride up?
I left very early this morning. I probably left around 6:20 this morning from Boston, and I was here. I had a couple other commitments that I had to do once I got to town, media commitments, so I did those and couldn't wait to get going with you. Yeah,
it was great, and I appreciate though it ended up being sunny when I got in the border, but Pierre was giving me warnings along the way. You might be hitting some snow once you cross the border there. Just be careful. But it was all clear once I got over there. But Pierre, I'll tell you a funny story before we get into it. So I get to the border. I'm the only one there. I think that's maybe happened to me once or twice in my travels back and forth to Montreal. And it's great when it does, right? You just get up there. But, then I'm thinking, with my luck, with Murphy's Law, I'm the only one here and I'll still get pulled over for no reason. I'll be that random guy. Or they'll think I haven't gotten mixed up as somebody in the IRA before. But anyhow, the guy says to me, do you have any guns, ammunition, anything? And no. So do you leave your guns at home? No. He goes, well, do you have your guns with you? Well, what do you mean? I don't have any guns. I don't own guns. He goes, oh, then why didn't you say that? It was almost like he just assumed I had guns. I've never had that happen to me, Pierre. I don't know about you.
No.
Yeah. I really have guns written all over me. I don't know. Okay. Anyhow, it was good. He knew who you were. I told him about our podcast and he said, well, you tell Mr. McGuire I say hello. So I'm sure you know a lot of faces there crossing the border so often.
I know where you crossed in Swanton. So I've crossed there a fair bit of my life.
Yep.
You know what? They're all those people, the men and the women of that duty, they do amazing work. That's not
really
a job.
No.
I know people get mad at them sometimes. That's a hard job.
Oh, yeah.
A really hard job.
Yeah. I mean, I remember Pierre coming up here right after 9/11, and it was tough for them there because, everyone's on high alert. So,
wasn't cool. I got one for you, though. When I was working at St. Lawrence, so this is back in the 1980s, I used to go to Canada almost every other day to go scouting, whether it was Montreal, Ottawa. I'd even go into games in Kingston. And every Sunday I'd go into either Toronto or the western part of the province. And usually I'd see the same people when I was crossing into Canada and when I was coming back. And when I'd be coming back, it would either be a man or a woman, depending on the day. They'd say, get any good recruits? And I'd be like,
that's great.
I think I might have. And then there was one time I was heartbroken, and he's an assistant coach for the San Jose Sharks right now. His name's Brian Wiseman. He was an All-American player at University of Michigan. He's been an assistant coach in Edmonton. For a long time, he worked with Davey Tippett down in Houston in the old IHL. Brian's a really good coach. Jimmy, he was an amazing player. He played for a team called the Chatham Micmacs. The goalie on his team was Steve Shields that ended up playing the NHL.
Yeah, he played in Boston.
It was this close. It came down to us and the University of Michigan. And I'll never forget it. Brian's father worked for the postal company or for the postal service in Canada. And he didn't, it was far to go to St. Lawrence, about an 8-hour drive, but to go to Michigan was about an hour and 20 minutes.
Right.
So it was pretty easy. I'm going to go to Michigan. But we were there right to the end. I'll never forget the phone call. He called me up and he said, I'm going to go to Michigan. And this is the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And he's only 18 years old at the time. So I drove back to Canada the next day after getting that call. And the border agent says to me, did you get any good ones? I said, no, I lost the best one yesterday. I lost the best one yesterday. Oh, in fantasy land, Jimmy, I think about having Greg Carville, Danny LaPerriere, Eric Lacroix, Marty Lacroix, and Brian Wiseman on the same team.
That would have been a hell of a team.
For college hockey, that's like Fantasy Island.
Yeah. That's a hell of a team, I'll tell you. And Pierre, the other thing too, I was telling you about the border too, is I'll never forget. I think I told you this quickly. We're coming back. Joe McDonald and I were working with ESPN in 2011. We had just covered Game 7 in Vancouver for the Stanley Cup Final. And there were a lot of Bruins fans, and a lot of people came up from the States for that. Of course, one of them was Whitey Bulger, who got caught. That's how he ended up in jail, going to Bruins Game 7 in Vancouver, got caught on the way back. So we get there, and Pierre, it is backed up like 2 hours. And Joe and I got to make our flight at like 10:30, and it's already, I think, about 8:15 in the morning. We're like, we're going to miss our flight. So these cars are coming down, and then these guys are coming out, with the dogs and everything. And this one guy looks up, and he says, Jimmy Murphy? It was my friend from high school. Was working.
No way.
Yeah. And he goes, where are you guys going? We got to get to Seattle for a flight. He goes, all right, I'll be right back. He came back, and they gave us an escort right up to the border. We gave the passports, and on we went. It was amazing.
Cool. Well, that day that you're talking about, Doc Emmerich and I, right after we were done, and I interviewed Mark Recchi on the ice that day.
That's one of my favorite interviews ever.
And so Doc and I got in a car to the airport because we were catching a flight back east. This is a good story. And remember that they were rioting in the streets in Vancouver. People were so upset.
Oh, yeah. We were stuck there for 3 hours. We couldn't leave.
Yeah, we were going under a bridge, and all of a sudden a Molotov cocktail came off the top of the bridge and exploded right next to our car. And Doc was not very happy. And neither was the driver. And I'm like, forget being mad. I'm just glad we didn't get hit by it. Just keep going. Forget getting mad. Go. Oh yeah.
That's good stuff. So Pierre, just we touched on it a little yesterday, but we were more focused obviously on the Beanpot. And by the way, congratulations to Boston University. Really solid performance there. They fell behind in the first period, but then as we were discussing on my way up here, Pierre, and not to take anything away from BU, they took advantage of it, but BC sat back a bit and BU smelt the blood in the water and they pounced. So 4-1 victory for them. Congratulations to Jay Pandolfo and the Terriers. They deserve it. But we were talking a little bit about the Four Nations over at Wes and Johnny's, another great show there. Thanks to Johnny Caron for that. And I'm wondering, as you've gone and you've had more time to digest these lineups, has anything changed about your opinion of who we might see in that championship game?
Not really. I'm worried about Canada's goaltending. I'm not even going to pretend. The last game I watched Jordan Binnington play against Chicago, and he was good when he had to be, but he wasn't great, Jimmy. And I'm concerned with their goaltending. Sam Montembeault has really hit the wall for he's representing Canada, but for the Canadians, he's really hit the wall. And Aiden Hill's been up and down. So I just that's the only concern I have for Canada. And that's not look, they're all really good players. I get that. But that's if you were to say to me, what's the one part of their roster that concerns you? Mm-hmm. The goaltending. Yeah. If you were to ask me, what's the one part of the U.S. roster that concerns me? The ability to move the puck tape to tape coming out of their own zone without Quinn Hughes there.
Completely agree.
Okay, so every team's got a wart, and some of them have more than one. I said to you yesterday, I feel terrible for the Finns because I think the Finns could have done some damage in this tournament. Without Miro Heiskanen, I don't know if they can do the damage, Jimmy. No. I don't know if they can.
I know I don't want to repeat ourselves, Pierre, but I mean, I still think it needs to be said because there's so many people don't see him enough. I mean, he is, in my eyes, and I think you agree, one of the top 5, if not top 3 D-men in the game today. He doesn't get enough credit. He means that much to that Finnish team.
100%. That's well said and stated by you. This is just for fans that don't get to see him a lot. Just think about Scott Niedermayer and think about Brian Leetch. That's Miro Heiskanen. Yeah. Okay, that's what he is. skating ability of Niedermayer and ability to break the play down like Niedermayer, first pass ability and defensive ability of Brian Leetch. This guy is so good, and they know it in Dallas. They know how good he is. DeBoer, the coach, knows how good he is. He makes him a better coach every night when he has him. So that, I feel terrible for the Finns. If you were to do it on paper, who's the fourth team in a 4-team tournament right now on paper? I didn't say for the event, just on paper. The Finns are the fourth team
right now. Yep.
Right now. It doesn't mean they're going to lose. But
exactly.
On paper, they're the fourth team.
Well, that's all we have to work with right now. So, yeah.
Until I see them playing, I'm not going to see them play till Thursday, just like you when they play the American. Yep. But I guarantee you one thing that's going to happen. In that game, I can't guarantee who's going to win, but I guarantee the Americans are going to run a cycle game like you can't believe. Oh, yeah. They're going to go right after the Finns' defense. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah, the forwards on the Finns are going to really have to come back and help the D, but we'll get back into that in a bit. Let's talk some Pittsburgh Penguins and the Pittsburgh Penguins that are here at the Four Nations with our good friend Paul Steigerwald. Join us here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. Maggie, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can. I love the Stanley cap.
You look so good. Like, for a veteran guy, we hear you so well driving to Canada. You are unbelievable.
And heading to Montreal tonight, and going to watch the game tomorrow night between Canada and Sweden. And then I got to turn around and come back on Thursday, back down to my house here on Lake Erie near Port Colborne, Ontario. So, but I'm looking forward to seeing Montreal again. I haven't been there since I got kicked off of TV back in 2017.
I know about that. Care to tell us about the story or no?
Oh no, my career ran its course on television. I think it's because I became follically challenged like Pierre, so they got rid of me.
I'm getting there, guys. Don't worry.
Hey, Paul, one of the reasons why we wanted you on, you have so much experience with great Pittsburgh Penguin players that have played internationally. I think about Paul Coffey, I think about Brian Trottier, I think about Joey Mullen, I think about Mario Lemieux, Kevin Stevens, Mark, and so many of them, Tommy Barrasso. So my question to you is, Mario Lemieux in 87. Talk about your experience watching him. You were there. It's probably the greatest Mario played until he got into the early 90s.
I'll tell you a quick story. First of all, I started with the Penguins in 1980. So in the 83-84 season, and we were lucky to get Mario, obviously, in the 84 draft. And after his rookie year, he played in the World Championships over Prague. And Team Canada beat Russia. And Mario was the MVP of that game and that tournament, as I recall. So that was his first chance at international play. And that made me feel really good because we kind of knew that Mario was going to be a great player, but that just confirmed it again to us that if you put him in big, high-stakes games, he'd do really well. But as far as 87 is concerned, what I remember, a good story, I went to Ontario, and they had been playing and practicing, and I don't think they'd had any pre-tournament games yet, but they were just working on their systems and stuff. Mike Keenan and E.J. McGuire were the coaches. And I ran into E.J. McGuire in the hallway in Hamilton. And I said, "How's Mario?" And his answer was, he kind of gave me a shrug like, "Mario's Mario." And it wasn't a positive response. It was like, oh, he's just kind of going through the motions. That was what he was implying or what I was inferring. And I don't think I was wrong. He wasn't praising him much. And I thought to myself, okay, well, we'll just wait and see what he does in the games. Well, we all know what happened. He became the goal scorer. Gretzky was the playmaker. Wayne won MVP of that Canada Cup, but Mario scored all the big goals, including one in double overtime. He scored that winning amazing goal to clinch the Canada Cup against the Russians in one of the greatest hockey games ever played. So we were so fortunate to see Mario in those high-stakes games before he ever got to do that for the Penguins. So that just confirmed to us that he was one of the greatest players of all time. And then it was just a matter of getting that Penguins team to play better. And everybody gave Gretzky a lot of credit for making Mario a better player. And I think it was a combination. I just think it was the environment. And I think Mario always had it in him. It was just a matter of putting him on the right stage to show that he could prove it. And he proved it in spades. You know that.
Yep.
I want to ask you to switch ahead to Sidney Crosby and just the international experience he's had. And obviously, everyone talks about the golden goal in 2010. But before that, just as you saw him coming up the ranks, how much could you tell that he was going to be able to handle that international stage?
Well, I just know that, he already had done it, on the World Junior level. And he was such a great player. And Mike Babcock, during that World Cup that he played on, I remember, I think that's where Mike Babcock called him a serial winner. I think we referred to him as that. So I do feel that we all were pretty confident that he was going to play really well. He was a world-class player already, so why wouldn't he? I mean, and then to do it for his country, you just knew that Sid took a lot of pride in that. So we weren't surprised at all. I wasn't, and I wasn't surprised when he won the gold, scored the golden goal in the Olympics. We knew he'd do well there too. I guess the pressure was greater on him there because obviously it was played in Canada and in Vancouver, and so it was a little different than maybe being overseas or whatever. But on the other hand, maybe being at home helped him, with the crowd and all that. So it was exciting. I remember we were all at a sports bar in Pittsburgh, up in the North Hills of Pittsburgh, watching that game. All the people, and most of the guys in that room were rooting really hard for Team USA, and not me. I was rooting for Sidney Crosby. I wanted him to win because I'm a Canadian citizen. I'm a dual citizen, so I'm allowed to do that.
Hey, you know what? The only thing Sidney Crosby hasn't won is the Memorial Cup.
Wow.
Well, I think he has some ridiculous record with Team Canada. It's like really. It's like 20-2 or something. I don't know what it is, but it's like outrageous. So I know why Mike Babcock referred to him as a serial winner.
Well, yeah, I can tell you, Paul, with comfortable analysis, I saw Sidney Crosby score a goal at 16 years of age in Helsinki, the youngest Canadian player to ever score a goal in the World Junior. I saw Sidney Crosby play on a line with Patrice Bergeron and Corey Perry to win the 2005 World Junior. I saw him play in the 2010 Olympics. I called the game with Chris Cuthbert on the golden goal, and I watched him in the 2014 Olympics, probably the best team Canada ever sent. And they didn't just beat the opposition; they annihilated everybody. It wasn't close.
Was that the best defensive team you saw for Canada, Pierre?
100%, and Sid was part of that. And that's what Paul could speak to. He doesn't sit right. Paul Sid doesn't get enough credit for being a good defensive.
No,
he does not.
Say that again. For what?
For being a great defensive player.
Oh my God, Mario's the greatest defensive player I've ever seen. When he decided to be it, I mean, he was unreal. I remember Scotty Bowman said to me once. He said, "Offensive players can be really good defensively because they're good at stripping the puck from other players." I'll never forget him saying that. I can still see him saying it in his office. And I thought about that, and Mario, of course, was great at that. But he was great at a lot of other things. He was big, and he had so much reach. But he anticipated. He was the greatest penalty killer of all time. He still holds the record for shorthanded goals in a season, 13.
13.
And I think it's because of his anticipation. When you're a great offensive player and you got a great offensive mind like he does, you know what the other guys are up to. Exactly. So you're thinking one step ahead of them, just as he does offensively. And I think that's why he was such a great penalty kicker. I can't tell you how many times he kind of held his stick back, made it look like he wasn't really in the right spot, and he'd pick off that pass, D to D on the power play, and he'd be off to the races shorthanded. One of the greatest goals he ever scored was in Quebec City with Marc Fortier hanging all over him. And you've probably seen that. He went in and beat Mario Gosselin, a little goalie. And it was incredible. I mean, Fortier was literally draped all over him. He had one hand on the stick. I think it's his greatest individual effort I've ever seen. And that was a shorthanded goal up there in Quebec City. We didn't have it on our local telecast because in those days, we didn't televise from Quebec. So I was doing radio with Mike Lang that day. But it is on video, and it's the French description of the goal by Mario. But back to Sid for a moment. As I was telling Pierre earlier today, a lot of people are talking about how excited they are to see best on, versus best. In my case, I'm excited to see Sid with Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon, on the power play and stuff like that, and Cale Makar. That's what I'm looking forward to, is seeing them together, because we've waited a long time. And as I was saying when I lost you guys for a second there, I'm just excited about the fact that Sid has hung around 20 years, long enough to be playing with the next great generational player, just as Mario played with Wayne Gretzky. We were excited to see that back in '87, and it's the same thing now.
When you guys look, obviously there was some question marks coming into this with his health, whether he'd play or not, but you guys know Sid very well. This must mean the world to him. And for the reason you're just saying there, to sort of bridge that generation gap and play with these younger stars and get to do that before he retires. But given the fact of the way this season has gone, how much do you think this means to Sid right now? Because it's pretty unlikely that he's going to win another cup unless he ends up on another team.
That's a really good question, Marvin. I think it's huge. And I think the Olympics, because look, the Penguins, it's a very, very long shot that they're going to make the playoffs. So it'll be 3 straight years. And if it goes the same way next year, it'll be 4 straight. It's a blessing that Sid has meaningful games to play in that situation. Because I would want him to have to go the whole year not being able to play games that mean something. So in that respect, I think it's really great that he has 2 years in a row here, possibly, where he can play in high-stakes games, even if his team in Pittsburgh doesn't make the playoffs. And then maybe, the Penguins could get their act together and get back to being competitive in a few years. And before his career is over in Pittsburgh, he'll have a chance to play meaningful games again in the Penguins uniform. But I really am glad he's playing them this year and next, possibly. And I'm sure he is too. He loves those environments, and he's so competitive. I mean, it's going to be awesome to see him. I'm a little worried about his injury. He wasn't shooting the puck at all last week after he hurt himself when he was skating. He was just passing the puck. He wasn't shooting it. So he wasn't putting any torque at all on that left arm. Not sure what he has. I think it might be an elbow, but obviously they treated him a lot here over the last several days. And I looked at video last night of him in that first practice with Team Canada, and it looked like he was shooting the puck. Maybe not as hard as he normally does, but he's got enough guys around him that he should be okay.
Hey, Paul, where's Mike Sullivan's game out right now as a coach? It's been a long time since he's done some winning as a coach.
I agree, Pierre, and it's hard to blame him. It really is. The team just hasn't been as good, and it's gotten more competitive too. Like the Eastern Conference and the Metropolitan Division, it's pretty competitive now. Mm-hmm. I think I was disappointed that the Penguins didn't get in the last couple of years. They were close enough that I felt like there were maybe some things where everybody had to take responsibility for it, including Mike Sullivan. But this year, for some reason, Mike has been really, really impressive in his post-game press conferences. And I think what's happened, Pierre, is I think he's become more analytical, and he's kind of settled into a place where he's analyzing. He's not as emotional. And so after games, he has really good analysis. He has measured, analysis or evaluation of his team. Mad sometimes, quiet, one-word answers on doing a really good job as a coach. I think he's one of the best. I think if for some reason he and the Penguins departed, there's no question in my mind that he'd have a job in about 5 minutes.
100%.
Sure. Another player that's from the Penguins that's playing for Sweden, Paul, is Rickard Rakell. And this guy's getting a lot of mentions in trade rumors right now. He's got a very digestible contract. If you're tell opposing GMs or opposing fans what they would be getting in a play like that if he was moved.
Well, let me tell you this. First of all, he had a tough year last year. He had a shoulder problem. He was wearing some kind of a brace on his right shoulder last year. And he went through a long stretch where he couldn't score goals. It was awful. And he busted out of it at the end of the year. He played a little bit better. On the first day of training camp, and I'm not kidding you when I tell you this, I went to the first practice, and literally in the first 30 seconds of Rickard Rakell being on the ice, I turned to somebody and I said, "Look at Rakell. He looks like a different person. He's totally, he looks light. He looks light out there. He looks like he's in better shape." So I waited till the end of practice, and I went downstairs, and the first thing, I was on a mission. I wanted to find out what the story was. He said, not so much less weight. He said less percentage. He obviously meant percentage of body fat. He changed his diet, and he's a different player. I mean, he went back to being maybe better than he's ever been. That's how good he is right now. And he can score goals in a variety of ways. He's truly a pure goal scorer in the sense that He could tip pucks. He scored on a wraparound the other night that was beautiful. He scored on another goal. I don't know if you saw it, guys. It was a 2-on-1 where he went in on the goaltender and he made an unbelievable move to kind of fool the goalie and score. And he can rip the puck. He's got a good wrist shot, a good release. He can one-time pucks. I mean, he's a true goal scorer. He's on that top line for Team Sweden for a reason. Mm-hmm. They didn't pick him right away because he had a bad year last year. But they were, I'm sure, praying for a reason or a way to get him on that team this year because he's going to be one of their best players.
Yeah, I agree. Pierre?
How was Letang? Was Letang upset that he didn't make the team?
Not that I could see. I'm sure he'd like to have gotten that honor, but there's so many great players. It's hard to say. He's a proud guy. So if I were guessing, he probably went home and complained to somebody about it. But he didn't make it obvious to the media or anything like that. And with all the injuries he's had and the illnesses and the stroke and all that, it's probably not the worst thing that he's taken a couple of weeks off.
What's your take been on Erik Karlsson's game this year?
Beginning of the year, he was horrid like he was last year, but he snapped out of it. And for, I would say, the last couple of months, he's been really good, actually. He's way better defensively. He's committed to playing a little bit of defense. He's actually making body contact, and he shows that he cares. But also, he scored some beautiful goals the last couple of weeks. He's racking up points. He's not making those mistakes of commission as much, where he's trying to pass pucks through people. He seems to be playing a more methodical game, and frankly, I think he's been really good. If aside from his $11 million cap hit, I would say that he'd be a player that maybe teams might be interested in at the trade deadline. And it wouldn't shock me if somebody did express an interest, but it's with that ticket. That's a big ticket. I just don't know if that'll be an impediment or not. But I will say he's played his best hockey as a Penguin in the last couple of months, month and a half.
So I'm not going to ask you who's going to win because I think that's an unfair question. But I'm going to ask you who's going to play in the finals.
Oh, I think it'll be U.S. and Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's made to be, and the reason being that it's the two best teams. I mean, if Russia was in there, I might not say that.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of a drag that Russia isn't. To be honest with you, I don't agree with that. I didn't agree with that decision. I thought they should be in there. If they could play in the NHL, they should be allowed to be in this tournament. Totally I think what they were concerned about was what if they win? That would have been something they would have had a problem with. But I think they possibly could have won. I mean, they got a great goal thing, and we all know what they're, but you guys know this, that you look at the teams and you say, well, the best goalie is playing for Team USA. But Pierre and I know that if you have a lot of firepower, you can break any goalie. They can all be broken by great players who can score goals. I'm going to be interested in if teams that can break Hellebuck.
Yeah,
agreed.
Losing Paul there. Paul, you got us, or? Yeah, he's breaking up. We'll let go. But no, it's a great point there, Pierre. I was actually going to ask him. Glad he brought up the goaltending there, Pierre. Oh, you got him back.
You guys still?
You there?
I think I lost you for a second.
Yeah.
You got me?
We got you.
Sorry about that, guys. I'm driving here on I-90. We're going towards Syracuse.
I've never been on that road, Paul. What's it look like?
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah, right. Pierre's been on every road in North America.
Yep. I tell him it's
Finland, Sweden, Russia. I don't know how you did it over there, Pierre.
Pierre's theme song is Johnny Cash. I've been everywhere, man. That is Pierre's song, hands down. Good stuff. Listen, Paul, we appreciate you taking the time. Great insight as always. I hope to bump into you up here. All right.
No, we are. We're seeing.
We'll come see you. I'm going to come see you.
He's coming.
Oh, you're going to come to the pub?
Yes.
That'd be great. Awesome.
I can't wait.
We'll
to
be
see
there.
Him. I'm so psyched to see him. Hey,
we're
definitely going to be there.
I want Paul to hear this. That'll be our pregame stop. I want Paul to hear this. He is a Pittsburgh icon. He and Mike Lang are Pittsburgh icons, and it is not appropriate that he is not still on the air. I'm just going to tell you.
Yeah.
Well, I still have my pregame shows and postgame shows on radio, so I still have a chance to express my sometimes valid opinions, but I appreciate you saying that, Pierre.
Hey, Paul, who had better road trips than us?
Oh man, we had some good times. We didn't get in the middle of the card games because we didn't have enough money, but we certainly saw a lot of it flying on those flying casinos back in the 90s.
I'll tell you what, Paul, you're going to love McLean's Public House. I'll text you the address. I'll send it to you, but you'll love it. It's a great place. And actually, guys, I didn't even tell you this, Pierre. With the Champions League in soccer going on, I was just told that the Montreal chapter of Celtic FC will be in there right before we do our podcast. So it's going to be a nice environment.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I'll be looking forward to that. We'll see you tomorrow night before the game.
All right. Sounds good.
Right,
Paul Steigerwald joined us here on the eye test on the Sick Podcast Network. He's great, Pierre.
Oh, I'm telling you, he and Mike Lang together was an amazing tandem. And you know how I can speak to that with so much confidence? Back in the day, when I was breaking down tapes, we would listen to the shows.
Yes.
You have the home team broadcast. And when, we'd go to New York, I would listen to Sam Rosen and JD. When you went to the Islanders, you'd hear Jigs McDonald and Eddie Westfall. You hear Derek Sanderson in Boston. You usually had the home team broadcast. Yep. And I can tell you with confidence that I could measure Paul and Mike against anybody, and they could hold the test of time. They were really good together. Yeah. Mike Lang was amazing, and Paul was really good, really, really good.
And look, I don't mean there's still very good announcers out there right now, play-by-play in color. So I'm not saying there isn't, but I feel like back in those days, and maybe it's just because there was no social media, there wasn't as many options in terms of cable or TNT or ESPN or that, Pierre, like announcers like that, whether it was radio or TV, they were the fabric of a city, of a sports fandom, so to speak.
Mike Lang is larger than life in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent a lot of nights on the road. Mike Lang was my version of Chuck Caton.
That's awesome.
I spent so many nights with both those guys in different cities, and just the wisdom and seeing how they prepared for their craft. They were craftsmen, and how they prepared to do it, the research that they did, just talking to people, being at the rink all the time. People don't realize there were no computers back then for these guys. They had to do their own intel.
Yeah.
It was really fascinating to watch them do their job. Really fascinating.
They scouted like scouts. They really did.
Really did. Speaking of, I can tell you this right now. The first time I ever met our next guest was in 1990 at the draft in Vancouver. Okay. He was just a young whippersnapper. He had that thick head of hair. He was lean and mean. I didn't know he'd make it to the Hall of Fame. I didn't know he'd win 3 different Stanley Cups in 3 different cities, in Pittsburgh and Carolina and in Boston. Yep. But I'm so glad he's here today.
And he also has probably the best taste in wine that I know. And that's Mark Recchi, Hall of Famer, joining us here on the eye test on the Sick Podcast Network. Hey, Rex, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How you guys doing? The hair's not so thick anymore, Pierre.
Oh, come on, Mark. You're looking dapper.
Looking good, bro.
Yeah. Yeah,
looking
feel good.
Are you down in Pittsburgh?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm outside Pittsburgh.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So, hanging out here. So.
Yeah, we're gonna miss you tomorrow. We're gonna be at McLean's Public House.
Oh yeah, nice. That's nice.
Fun. We're gonna get a crowd down there, but
good for you guys.
Mark, Rex, I want to get right into it. Do you remember exactly your first international experience putting on that Maple Leaf, and what did it mean to you at that moment?
Yeah, I was World Juniors. It was just incredible. I was kind of a long shot too, so. Then I made the team, and we were going over to Russia, over to Moscow in '88, and the first time you put it on is just absolutely incredible. It's what a great feeling. I mean, obviously growing up watching, all the Canada Cup games, and from all those games, and just now all of a sudden you're putting on a jersey, and I watched the World Juniors, paid attention to the World Juniors, and growing up, so it was pretty cool.
And then you had a chance to play in the '98 Olympics in Nagano. What was that experience like?
Well, that was a whole another ball. Obviously I played in World Championships as well. Had some, we won a world championships in 97, played in a few other ones. And then to get in the 98 Olympics was, it was the first time pros were allowed into the Olympics. So for that experience alone was incredible. And to go there and experience the Olympic, the Olympic Games was another level as well. And it just, made you even more proud to put the jersey on.
I know, like, Pierre, you've told me, it's tough. You're in your own bubble, each sport pretty much, but do you get a chance to sort of get out and experience some of the other sports and what it's like and how hard those athletes train as well?
Yeah, we went and, we bounced around to different events, but, we didn't have a lot of time, but we hung out with a lot of the other athletes, which was incredible. That was the coolest part, really, to be honest with you, to get with these athletes. And they were a little bit, I think they were a little bit sour because we were pros. But then once they got to know all the guys and we all hung out and they figured we're just normal dudes too. And we're just there to win an Olympic medal like them. And it's a dream for us as well. We were just very fortunate to be getting paid at that time. But, so it was just an amazing experience to just hang out and hear the stories and what they go through and how they get their sponsorships, all that stuff. It was just an incredible experience.
When you look at the Canadian roster, Mark, what do you think of right off the top of your head?
Well, they've got great experience. They've got some great experience right off the bat. The guys that have been in that situation, they know what it takes, and it's they've got a pretty well balanced team, I think. I think, I'm hoping the goaltending stands up. I think that's the question mark, but, Binnington's won a cup. He knows if he's the guy, he knows how to win. You hope that they can get to that level. He can. So, it's a short series and you need a goalie to be, on top of it. And, obviously for me, Sid, how many more of these does Sid have, before we don't see Sid? And, he's won everything possible, and this is just, obviously they're out of the playoffs, but we still got time. They still got time to make a run, but to me, this is his Stanley Cup. I'm thinking for him, this is his Stanley Cup this year, and I'll give him another opportunity to just put another staple on his wall and help be around a guy like McDavid and obviously he's great friends with McKinnon, and there's so many great players on that team and help them. It doesn't hurt to be around a guy like Sid for 10 days and to see what he like and what he does every day and how he how he manages himself during games, and it's going to be a great experience for everybody.
For sure. Rex, I wonder, when you were in 98, when you were going up against the other countries there, you might have gone up against some of your teammates at the time. What's that like when you have to face them and just sort of block it out that that's your teammate that you're battling?
Yeah, you do block it out. And that's the great thing about that's hockey players. You're playing against them. You're not going to take it easy on them. Like you want to win, and that's the bottom line. And you're trying to win a championship. You're trying to win an Olympic gold medal. You're trying to, in this case, they're one of the first times, or this is the first time they're doing a Four Nations. This is a great opportunity. So they're not going to take it easy. They're going to play hard.
Love it.
You were a great Montreal Canadian. You were great in every city you played in. Just tell the listeners and the viewers at home what hockey's like in Montreal.
Oh, absolutely incredible. You don't really, to get an opportunity to experience it was something really special. And I got a taste of it the first night I got traded in there. It was an absolute snowstorm we flew into. And, and there's, I don't even know how many, there's so many media. I'm like, holy, what are they doing here? Like it's like 11 o'clock at night to boot, and it's a snowstorm. And I go, oh, this is it. So, but it was incredible. I love playing there. It was an amazing 5 years for me. And it's just one of the greatest experience I've had. I got to go from the old Forum to the new arena, which, just to get an opportunity to dress in that old Forum every day with all the history was really, really special. And then, the people there were amazing. I mean, they love their game. Obviously, they're very passionate. It's a great, the great atmosphere every night you play a game, and they appreciate it when you play hard. And obviously, they just know when guys are doing the right things and playing the right way. And that's a nice thing as a player to know. If you play hard and play the right way, they're going to appreciate it.
Rex, another one of your former teammates, Brad Marchand, I think all of us here could agree that one of the pivotal moments for his career was that 2016 World Cup. He really blossomed there and came out of, we knew he was good because we saw him a lot, but everyone else understood after that how good this player was. I'm wondering if you still keep in touch with Marshy, and also how excited is he to go to this?
Oh, I'm sure he's excited. I mean, we saw him I saw him a couple when we had the 2011. We played that Warrior deal. He came on the bench and he hung out with us, and so we had an opportunity to see him there. We're in a big group text all the time, our whole team. So we're always in it, and we're always texting and stuff like that. And I know I've read some of his comments. I try not to bother him, but I've read some of his comments, how excited he is. And this is a great opportunity for him as well. And, he's such a heck of a player and such a heck of a competitor. And I'm excited to see how to see him, I think he could make a big difference for a team like that. I think they had him penciled kind of like more of a third line. I'm not sure you guys, that's a pretty darn good third line, pretty good, those third and fourth lines can make a difference in a short game like that, in a short series. And it'd be pretty neat to see how it goes about. I think the top guys are going to go head to head, see how that goes. And it's those bottom group usually, helps you, when you get over that hump.
Yeah. So I asked Paul Steigerwald this, and I'll ask you the same thing. I'm not going to ask you to pick a winner. Who's going to play in the final?
I think it's going to be Canada and U.S. in the finals. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a general consensus for sure.
Yeah.
I think. Oh, go ahead, Max.
Yeah. No, I think Sweden's I like Sweden. Finland's got a ton of they got a bunch of injuries. That's they're not deep as it is, and they got a bunch of injuries. That's tough for them. But Sweden's got the goaltending too, which. But I still think it's going to be Canada, U.S. I'm hoping, anyways.
And by the way, Seth Jarvis and Braden Point on that line with Marchand. That's going to be a heck of a line to deal with. That's a good matchup line for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're going to. I mean, I know they're all deep teams, but that's pretty special. I mean, they're top six guys on each team, and Jarvis is he's a top line guy now. Point's a top line guy, and Marchand's still that competitive guy that's going to drive people nuts out there.
Yep, for sure.
How much do you think the Americans will miss Quinn Hughes?
Yeah, I mean, just looking, I mean, they're going to have to, Zach Rowinski's going to have to step up, and I mean that power play spot is huge, and they got Fox, and they've got the spots, but he is so dynamic, and he's such a special player that you're definitely going to miss him, and they've got other guys that help. On that power, especially on the power play, where he's just a terrific quarterback up there, and kind of can dictate the play. And now Fox and guys like Rowinski, McAvoy, they're going to have to step up and do the job there. But they can, but he will be missed.
Hey Jimmy, before you ask one, I want to ask Mark one more on Werenski.
Yeah,
because Mark actually coached him. Mark, I've been saying this for a long time. He's probably one of the best players in the league that nobody knows because he plays in Columbus. How good is he?
Yeah, I mean, so last year, his last few years were tough. He got banged up a lot. He was beat up. It's nice to see him healthy because his talent is off the charts. I mean, you saw that. I mean, he had a career year last year, and he had some injuries, but he still ended up having a career year, and you saw the good things that were going to come. So it's awesome to see that he's taken a huge step, and he stayed healthy, number one. I know he got a little bit banged up right before here, but he played the other night, and it's nice to see him. Hopefully he gets a full healthy season, and people are seeing that what he can do with that skill set he has.
He's obviously, Rex, taken a huge leadership role this year, especially with what happened with the late Johnny Gaudreau. Did you see those leadership qualities in him when he was younger?
Well, last year, like I said, I only had him for a year. So, and there was a lot of things going on, and, but, they lost, obviously losing Johnny was terrible. Boone Jenner, Goodbranson, they were leaders. They lose those guys, and he steps up and he fills the void, and that's awesome. I mean, you could see he had leadership capabilities. Like he was a competitive guy, but he's more of a quiet competitive guy. So, but you could see that he had that drive, and he, and things would bother him. You could tell when things were bothering him, and once you learn how to get it out and do it the right way, and I'm sure that's what he's doing in Columbus right now, and he's just taking a huge step on the ice and off the ice, I would assume, but not being there, but it's great for him. I'm just really happy for him. We're happy to see that.
Great player.
I want to ask you one more because it's a player that you coached in New Jersey, Jack Hughes. Right now they have him playing right wing with Austin Matthews and Jake Gensel. I personally don't think that's a good fit. I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, to me, I would put Brady Tkachuk with those two personally. I think they have Brady down on the line below that, right? Do they not?
With JT Miller and Boldy, exactly right.
Yeah,
exactly.
so I would flip flop maybe Gensel and Tkachuk, and you get a little bit more meat and potato. That's just that presence with Jack to help with Jack, and I think that would be, to me, that would be the ideal situation. And then you got, and I'm not sure who the other two players were with Tkachuk. If you guys could.
Oh, JT Miller and Matt Boldy.
That's right. You just said that. And you put a guy like Gensel on that line, because you got JT, you got the physical, JT Miller's he's a physical presence. He's a hard guy to play against. Boldy's a big body. Jake's a real smart player. I could see that being a real good line as well. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Jack's a great player. He'll adjust and he'll be, he's a great kid. He'll want to do well. He's a real competitive player, and he wants to do the right things, and he wants to win. So it'll be fun to watch him out there with all these guys.
It'll be nice if he can play with his brother next year at the Olympics, though. So hopefully he'll be there.
Absolutely.
Hey, Rex, thanks a lot, my friend, for joining us. We wish you were here, and we will see you soon. All right.
All right, my pleasure, guys. Cheers. Enjoy.
Mark,
I'm going to see you at Mario's camp next week. Mario's camp. Don't forget.
There we go.
Be there. We'll be there. Looking forward to it, buddy.
I want you.
Yeah, we're looking at. I play D. No, don't forget, I'm playing defense.
Okay. You were good at that too. It's all right.
All right. Cheers, guys.
See
you later.
See ya. Mark Recchi, Hall of Famer, joining us here in the eye test. Is he a puck-moving defenseman?
You know what? I can tell you, I skated a lot of time with him, and his passing was vastly underrated. His release on his shot was amazing. So he could be a power play guy for me. In fact, if he's on my team, he will be running my power play at the fantasy camp.
Nice. Mark Recchi running a power play. I like it.
He'll be running if he's on my team. Sometimes they take those good players and put them on other teams, and it bothers me.
Oh, geez. Do you guys do a draft, or is it just assigned?
You know what? I don't get involved in that. I'm going to be Patrick Waugh. I take the players that my GM gives me. That's what I do.
Well said, Mr. Politician. I like it. Good stuff. All right.
I have a good GM, though. Usually I have a GM by the name of Craig Patrick, and he's very good at this. He's very good.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, you're going to have a ball down there. I'm looking forward to the calls from there, Pierre, and hopefully we can get some guys to join us here on the eye test from there. Listen, as we told you at the top of the show, Pierre and I will be live tomorrow, Thursday, and Saturday, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern. So remember that for people that aren't here in Montreal and just watching online or listening live, we are at 6 to 7 Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Not usually on Saturdays, but because it's the USA-Canada game, we're going to be doing a pregame there. So we'll be at McLean's Public House, 1420 Peel Street. If you're in the area, come on down and say hello. As I said, if you're going to be there tomorrow, I would suggest getting there a bit early because I've been told that it's going to be very packed wall to wall for the soccer game before, and a lot of sea of green and a lot of Guinness. So come on down, enjoy yourself. And of course, we'll be back at West End Johnny's next week on Monday, 6 to 7 p.m. And then the Thursday of the gold medal game, 6 to 7 p.m. that night as well. So looking forward to that. And shout out to Johnny Caron. Another great time with him yesterday, Pierre. He's rapidly becoming one of my favorite people. I got to say that.
I got a lot of time for Johnny. I really enjoyed being around him. It's not about hockey talk. It's about life talk. He's just really good.
Just who he is.
I really enjoy our time around him. Yep.
Good stuff. So we're excited to go back there next week to finish off the Four Nations Faceoff. All right, let's tell you about our sponsors. Of course, the first one here, based out of Montreal, and that is TCS Customs and Logistics. Unlock the full potential of your shipping operation with TCS Customs and Logistics. From around the corner to around the world, flatbeds to air freight, customs clearance to drawback consulting, TCS is a one-stop shop for all things transport, moving pieces and delivering a peace of mind. For no obligation customs or freight quote, contact sickpodcast at shiptcs.com, sickpodcast at shiptcs.com. And of course, our other sponsor is Betway. You can still go over there right now and go all the way with Betway and get a free bet up to $200 if your first bet loses. That's right. They will pay you to lose if you sign up for an account there right now. So go over there right now, scan the QR code right in front of you to get there, or you can just go right to the website, click in the details section and create your membership. This offer is only available for new members. It is not available in Ontario. Terms and conditions apply. You must be 18 plus, and obviously please bet responsibly. No bets today. We'll be back at it tomorrow with the game starting up for the Four Nations. So I'll have some picks for you. I'll try and think of some fun props as well. So let's get right into our Q&A because I know we're starting a little later than usual, but for good reason, having two great guests there. All right, next, what do we got? Addison, do you think the Four Nations games will look more like pond hockey or playoff hockey? I think, Pierre, to start, it might have a little pond hockey feel, but I think the intensity will ramp up pretty fast, and we'll get to playoff.
All four coaching staffs have a lot of structured people on them. So I think you're going to see more structure than people were expecting. And I think neutral zone play is going to matter a lot. And I think, especially against Canada, if you take a lot of penalties, you're going to get crushed. It doesn't matter how good a goal you have. It doesn't matter how good your penalty kill is. You're going to get crushed. So there's certain things schematically you have to do in order to compete with different teams here. So I think you're going to see a little more structure than what we're used to. And a big reason why is the staffs are large. And a lot of the guys on the staffs are very structured coaches. Yeah,
and as Rex said, too, the bottom six of clubs will play a huge role as well. Yeah, that was a good point by him.
Very good.
Quickly, Pierre, you know, when we go to the Olympics, I mean, usually we're on Olympic-size ice sheets. How much does the smaller rink force guys to engage and get away from pond hockey, so to speak?
Well, it forced them to get right into it because they're playing NHL ice and North American ice, I guess you want to call it. But more countries are doing that. Like the KHL's done it. You know, and in Finland, they've gone to the hybrid, and all these guys are playing. There's no non-NHL players in this tournament. Like, I remember the Salt Lake City Olympics. Henrik Zetterberg was playing for Sweden. He had never played an NHL game. Yeah. You know, there were guys like that then. That doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
You know, it just doesn't happen.
All right, next question. Alex Ivanowski, I live about an hour away from Pitt. And by the way, what's up, Alex? My feel over around the team and fans right now is that they are terrified of a full rebuild. Do you think Buffalo's struggles are scaring teams from rebuilding? That's a good question.
You know what, though? What about Edmonton? How long did they have to go through a rebuild? I mean, there was a lot of pain in Edmonton. I remember St. Louis going through a lot of pain. You know, hey, Boston Bruins went through pain when they were rebuilding. Rebuild's not fun. It's painful. How do you think they were in Montreal the last few years?
Yeah.
Not a lot of fun. Hey, look, there's some teams that are in perpetual rebuilds. And part of that is because they got inept ownership that hire moronic managers.
Yep. I agree.
That's what happens. Yeah. But I'll just say this. We'll know at the trade deadline how serious they are in Pittsburgh about going into a rebuild. Yep. We'll know.
Yep.
You know, so far what they've done is like window dressing.
Exactly.
It's camouflage. Yep. Show me what you're going to do.
I'm with you on that, Pierre. And, you know, I just look, I think you'll agree with me on this, that we see these rebuilds kind of get prolonged sometimes too, because scouting's not what it used to be either, because everybody's relying too much on video and analytics. And just not going and seeing the eye test, not to promote our name, but seriously, not just get there in person and see those games in person and get a feel for the player.
I talked to somebody today that's a very high profile scout in the NHL, and he started probably 5 to 7 years after I got into the league, but I've known him a long time. He was a college guy before. And he said he just can't believe some of the people that are being hired to scout because they don't do the eye test.
Exactly.
They're doing other stuff, and it's led to a lot of mistakes for a lot of teams.
I agree.
And this is from not me saying it. This is from somebody that is doing it right now.
Been in the business for a while too. All right, next question. Randy Workman, will the Canucks trade Pettersson? I don't know, Randy. I thought I kind of was under the assumption, and I shouldn't always assume, but when they traded Miller, that was it. And they're going to wait till the end of the season, see how it goes with Pettersson as the main guy. But yeah, I've been hearing the same stuff as you. I don't know. I don't know what they're up to.
Let me ask you a question. Like, if they trade him, what happens when Brock Besser goes to market? Like, who's going to score there?
It's a great point, Pierre. And what happens up the middle?
Well, I'm just asking. I like Teddy Bluger a lot. I do. Trust me. I like Teddy. When my kid scored his first goal in the USHL, it was Teddy Bluger's son that passed him the puck.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So, I mean, I like Teddy Bluger a lot. I'm just saying. But Teddy's not a first or second line center, and he knows it. So, like, what are they going to do?
They'd have to have a center coming back.
Well, who's going to be better than him? Pettersson,
I know.
They already traded JT Miller. I mean,
give it time. That's what I would say to Canucks fans there and some of the media. Like, they're trying to rush this guy out of town. It's like, hey, you just made this trade. Let's see how he reacts. It's only been.
How about the team? They're if the playoffs started today, Vancouver Canucks are now. The one thing I'll say is, and we're going to get a chance to spend time with Coach Taka because he's here with Team Canada.
Yep.
Which I can't wait to, that's, what I think of him. He and Recchi are my two ponies. I'm not afraid to say that. Think the world of those two guys. But I can't wait to talk to him just about what's going on there.
Yeah. It's going to be great for sure. All right. Next question. What do we got? Ron LaRoque, how good was Josh Anderson in that loss to Tampa Bay this past Sunday? Wow. You could tell he knew he was going on vacation after the game. He is so noticeable this year. Awesome. Ron, I'm glad you brought that up. I think he has had a good bounce back year.
So I'm going to let something out of the bag. I was at the Bean Pot yesterday, and I was after the Harvard Northeastern game, and congratulations to Harvard on a well-earned 4-3 win over Northeastern in the consolation game. I was with Marty St. Louis, Kent Hughes, and a guy named Lane Hudson. And so, yeah, Josh Anderson is playing really well. And part of it, I want to give all three of those guys, but two in particular, the GM and the coach, a lot of credit. They created a role for Josh Anderson. And that is, you're going to be a forechecker. You're going to play with speed. You're going to be a penalty killer, and we're going to turn you loose on the penalty kill. And we're going to give you a ton of opportunity to play.
Yep.
And he's taken that role and run with it. And good for Josh.
He has.
100%. 100%. And I'm so happy for him. But I can tell you, and I'll say this, I'm not afraid to say it. Marty said to me yesterday, what do you think of my team? I said, I actually like your team a lot. I think your team's good. But I said, they need a rest. And he said, you're right.
He agreed, right?
He agreed.
Oh, yeah. And tell him, I saw it on TV, but I don't know how many people out there were able to watch the Bean Pot final there. But it was so funny. I'm driving up, and Pierre mentions, I was with Lane Hudson. I'm like, oh, yeah, I saw him on TV. I mean, Pierre, how much does that mean to those guys to have that alumni there?
Well, not only him, Celebrini was there too. The both of them.
Well, you're right.
Can you imagine how good that team was? Those guys would have been back this year.
Oh.
Hudson would have been a junior. Celebrini would have been a sophomore.
Oh, my gosh. It's insane. It's insane.
So anyways, long story short, I was so proud of both those kids, and good for our real good friend, Jay Pandolfo at Boston University for winning his first as a head coach at BU, the Bean Pot, which is a magical thing to win. And I'm so proud of those kids for going back there and cheering on. Some of them are freshmen, like Eiserman, Cole Eiserman, but he's friends with Celebrini. And Hudson's there to cheer on his brother Cole and his other brother Quinn. I think that stuff is great. And I just – it's one of the reasons why I go to a lot. Jimmy, you see how much I go to different things. And people say, why do you go to that way? Because I want to be there to try to support these guys.
Yeah.
We were in Ireland. When we were in Ireland, the easiest thing for us to do is to go hang out at the Harp, go to, have some fun, and then go back to sleep. We went to every practice.
Well, we're at the practices.
We had so much fun. And those kids were great.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. Like, I got back and people are like, oh, so what tourist sites did you see? And I said, I saw a rink in my hotel and the Harp, and I loved it. I wouldn't trade it for any. I can go back and see that stuff
just
another
to
time.
give back. And I was so proud of Macklin Celebrini and so proud of Wayne Hudson.
And they were right there on the bench, high-fiving them after.
Yeah, I mean, it was great stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was good stuff. All right, next question. FFF, love your show. Thank you. Any news as to Jonathan Taves? Is he in shape to join the NHL this season? Would Montreal be interested? I believe they already announced it won't be until next season that he'll be playing. I'm not sure about Montreal. That could be a good fit, maybe a good veteran for their young guys, but I have a feeling he ends up in the peg.
So all I'll say is this: Jimmy knows, and I'm a huge fan of the person. Known him a long time. Huge fan of the player. Known him a long time. Done a lot of different things that are really cool with him, both at the rink and away from the rink. And I hope he comes back and he calls his retirement on his own terms. He deserves that.
He does.
You know, there are a lot of guys that gave a lot to the game that never had a chance to call it on their own terms. He's a guy that really deserves to call it on his own terms. And that's what I hope happens to him. If I were running a team today, I'd be calling his representatives right now, and I'd be saying, what is it going to take to get him on my team?
Yep, I'm with you on that. He's a winner. He's a winner and a great person. All right, next question. John Smith. Hi, guys. How instrumental are insiders in getting info out there about players that are made available? I mean, is it to the point where some are paid to talk about certain situations? Cheers. John? Like, where do I put that red light that goes bingo, bingo, bingo? Yeah, you nailed it, my friend.
Are you gonna be mean Jimmy or nice Jimmy?
No, I'm being nice Jimmy right now.
Okay.
I'm being nice Jimmy.
Right.
You can be mean Pierre if you want, but
no, you know how I am.
No.
Here's what I'll say. If it weren't for leakers, there would be no insiders.
Yes. Well, Pierre, true, but let's not forget the legend, the Godfather, who I think
he had to cultivate. Bob McKenzie is a special friend and
created the leaks.
He didn't by a mile, not even close. The best insider ever. Not even close. And you know how he did it? He cultivated assets professionally.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he was the best at it. He was, and
and he never forgot who his assets were that he cultivated, and he treated them with respect. And he never broke a confidence. If you had a conversation with Bobby Mack and you said, Bobby, I'm going to tell you something, but you can't put it out there, he wasn't putting it out there.
Yep.
He had it for background.
Yeah.
Bobby McKenzie is the greatest insider in any sport ever. I'm just telling you. The only other one that I think, there are a couple. I think Dan Shaughnessy and Peter Gammons in baseball.
Will McDonough?
Mm-hmm.
Remember Will McDonough?
Yeah, well, I was going there. You go too fast. What sport was he covering? Baseball or football?
NFL, my friend.
Thank you. Was I talking about NFL or baseball?
Oh, you were. I know.
Okay, that's where I was going next, but thank you for reminding me.
Great minds think alike. There you go. But he was the best. He was great.
Bobby Mack was the best. And then, you know, who took over the mantle was Kevin Paul DuPont.
Yeah. Oh, Dupes is great, too.
Kevin was outstanding and still is, but Kevin was right up. Bobby Mack he did it the whole world. Like Bobby and
he did it without Twitter. He did it without texting.
Yeah. No, I mean, I saw him in action. I saw him in action. He was good.
Good stuff. All right, next question. Randy Workman, how good is prospect Luke Hames?
Luke Hames is a center iceman who plays at Dartmouth College. He's a good sized center iceman. He can get points. He's got a chance to be an NHL player. He has a chance, but he's a good prospect. He's a good prospect.
Yeah, I've been hearing more media members. Maybe you heard it with Elliot Freeman. Maybe that's where he got that. But yeah, a lot of people starting to talk about him more. As we were like yesterday, we were talking about NCAA free agency.
So the one thing I'll just, and again, you got to be cautious on all this stuff.
Yeah.
So they've kind of come out of nowhere. Dartmouth has.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of hype around their team. And the one thing they have is they got a coach that's really good.
Yeah.
Reed Cashman. He's in the Greg Carvel. So he's been an NHL coach. And now he's coaching at the college level. So he's got a huge advantage. Hames is a good player. Sean Chisholm's a good player. John Fusco's a good player there. They got some good players there.
We got to get him on the on Campus Friday one time.
Who, Reed?
Yeah,
Yeah, we
let's
can have
do it.
read on for sure. 100%.
All right, next question. Stephen Cardinal, or maybe Stefan, I apologize, either or. Haven't seen the whole lineup apart from the obvious who's there. I guess he's talking about Canada, or I'm not sure. Stephen, let us know what team you're referring to, or all the teams, and we'll get back to you for sure. Next question. Jason Logan, question, you guys. Questions. Who do you think will be in the final? I think we're all unanimous. Canada, USA.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not.
Really? You seem sure about a half hour ago.
I was listening to our guests, and they were sure. I'm starting to wonder about Sweden.
Pierre, it's funny you say that, and I swear we don't plan this. We don't.
Let me ask you one question before you answer.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if they just trap it up tomorrow against Canada?
Yep.
What happens if the Canes get frustrated because they haven't really played together a lot?
Mm-hmm.
The Swedes, they know how to trap it up pretty good.
Yes.
What happens if, I don't know, their defense just has a rock solid night and they beat Canada? Then what happens?
So, Pierre, a couple weeks back, I mean, we're going on almost 3 weeks now, but I was sitting with our good friend Kevin Stevens down at Sacred Heart, and we were looking ahead to this tournament, and he was adamant. Murph, Sweden's winning this thing. And you know what he said? Because of the defense. He said,
well, that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it for any other. I have to think about it more, and I'm going to do that today. And tomorrow I will tell you who I think before the game. I won't say it after, before the game.
Okay.
I think it'll be in the final. Right. But I got this is one of those things where I just don't throw it out there. You know the way I am. I watch a lot and I study a lot and I break a lot of stuff down. I'm just not going to throw it out there. Oh yeah, Canada, US. I can't, because I respect the Swedes a ton. No. And I'll tell you what, if Miro Heiskanen was playing for the Finns, I wouldn't say they'd be getting there, but I think they'd play the role of spoiler.
Exactly. I could see that as well, for sure. All right, next question. Postnet on 1:30. What happens if Sweden and Finland are in the finals?
There'll be a lot of late nights in Sweden and Finland, actually early mornings, and there'll be a disaster on TV in the United States and Canada.
Yeah, that is not what the NHL needs right now, considering how things have been going on TV. I'll tell you that. All right, next question. Alex Ivanowski, I'm very excited for the Stadium Series with Columbus and Detroit. I love those unis, by the way, Alex. I wish they were in the same division as each other. Such a natural rivalry with Ohio State and Michigan. Can we redo the divisions? I think that would be a great idea. It's the proximity and the built-in hatred already. It's a good call.
I don't think they're going to redo the division.
Well, I don't think they will, but I like the idea for sure.
Yeah, me too, but I don't think they'll do that. I want to see them redo the playoff format.
Yes, back to 1-8. Yeah, enough of this. It's yeah. All right.
That'd be the first. If you were to ask me, you get to go to the Board of Governors in Palm Beach next December.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were to say to me, you got to bring one thing to the party, that's the one thing I'd bring. Redo the playoff setup.
I think that's a great idea. My thing right now, though, Pierre, would be figure out the TV situation and figure out.
Yeah, I don't know if the board can do that.
So many fans can't watch their team sometime. Get blacked
I get it.
out.
No, it's fair.
Insanity.
What you're saying is fair. 100%. Yeah.
All right, next question. Ron LaRoque. The Q will give out the Sidney Crosby Award. I saw
the best rookie.
Top rookie. Not even retired yet and getting a trophy named after him. That's great recognition. Yeah, and I'm sure there's going to be more coming after he does.
I think they did the Mario Lemieux trophy when he was still playing too.
Oh, yeah.
For the most points, yeah. It's appropriate. Pittsburgh Penguin guys both played in the Q.
Yep.
Mario played for the Laval Titans, and Sid played for Rimouski Oceanic.
You ever been up there, Pierre? I imagine you have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, all our summers were in a place called Montreal, which is right next to Les Beaux, which is on the other side of Rimouski. It's on the St. Lawrence Seaway. Yeah, I've been up there a lot.
I've heard good things about the place, actually.
It's nice in the summer, Jimmy.
Yeah, not in winter.
It's a little tough in the winter.
A little cold in winter. All right. Speaking of trophies, too, Pierre, they released the they showed the trophy at Media Day, I guess, for this tournament, Four Nations, but doesn't have a name. I don't know. How do you have a trophy without a name? So Anyhow, next question. Pierre, how do you think the D on Team Canada is looking compared to other teams?
They're good. They're good. Sanheim's the 7th guy. That's a pretty good defense. I mean, Taves and McGuire play together. Theodore's going to move from the right to the left. I've always been a fan of Doughty. I think Doughty's really good. My question mark's going to be, I think Morrissey's going to have a breakout party here. I think he's going to be really good. Will Parayko be able to keep up to the pace if it gets really fast? Outside, if it's a contained kind of a game, he'll be fine. But I like Canada's defense, especially when you have familiarity. Taves and McGuire play together all the time. They won the Stanley Cup together. Doughty's he's a winner. Like Drew's just a winner.
On Doughty, Pierre, I know we touched on it a bit yesterday. But again, you're not worried about the timing, just jumping right
No, I
into it.
am. Timing's the one. That's what I'm worried about. But I've seen Drew and done a lot of different stuff with Drew over the years. He's just one of those guys that just figures it out.
Yeah,
There are not a lot of guys like him. Pronger was like that. Chris could figure it out. You know, he didn't have to play a ton. He just could figure it out. Scotty Stevens could kind of figure it out. I won't tell you the guys that needed more time, but there are a lot of guys that needed more time. But
yeah,
those are guys that could just figure it out.
Can the moment and the adrenaline kind of help you with that as well?
Early, once it gets late in the game, that kind of kick that burns off. But early it can. Early it can for sure.
All right, I think we got two more. What do we got? Randy Workman, was Dion on that Crosby team?
Dion was on the Crosby team when Sid scored the goal as a 16-year-old, and Dion was on the 05 World Junior team. And there were two instances with Dion and Sid that were really nasty. And it wasn't bad. Like you wanted as a coach. Brent Sutter was their coach in Grand Forks. There was an early morning practice, and it got really heated physically between Dion and Sid. And it happened twice. And I'll tell you what, it got everybody's attention. The players, they knew how hard they had to compete. But, yeah, Dion was part of the 2 World Juniors that Sid was a part of. Yep.
All right, next question. Postnet on 130. Who has better
Montreal.
bagels? Montreal, NYC, or other?
Montreal, and the best place is St. Viator Bagels.
There we go.
I'm just telling you, so you know, Jimmy. And I know there's a lot of people in Montreal that have their own favorites. When I always went.
Paying them a visit while I'm here, Pierre, I found out they have gluten-free bagels. They got gluten-free for the celiac man here, so I'm checking it out while I'm here for sure. I think that's it. Do we have any more, guys? Oh, we do have a little more. Pierre, say hello to your mother from the Sick Podcast fans. That's right. Pierre is going over to his sponsor on TSN 690 there, Magpie.
Going to Magpies tonight with my mom and celebrate Melanie, my wife's birthday tonight. Her birthday's on February 14th, but I won't be around. Jimmy's sending me back to Boston. He's a hard-working guy. He's driving me hard, Jimmy is. Ronnie, that's really nice of you to say that, and I will relay to my mom that one of our most loyal viewers and listeners said that. That means a lot.
She's a loyal viewer and listener, too.
Dolly doesn't miss a show.
Yeah.
She might be she could be an assistant GM in the league.
Yeah.
The only thing I can tell you, if you don't dress properly, though, and you're not clean shaven, you could be in trouble. It could be the Lou Lamoriello treatment.
First thing I did when I checked in was shave, Pierre.
You could be in the Lou Lamoriello treatment. That'd be tough.
There we go. All right. Well, listen, we want to thank our amazing guest, Paul Steigerwald, and Hall of Famer Mark Recchi here. Great job by you, Pierre, thinking and setting that up. Want to thank our studio here in Montreal. I'm usually saying up in Montreal, but here in Montreal. Look forward to seeing you guys down at McLean's Public House. And again, hopefully we'll see some of you, the viewers and the listeners there that are around here for the Four Nations Faceoff. 1420 Peel Street, the Public House, McLean's Public House. Come on by. Like I said, get there a little early. It's going to be a pretty tight crowd, but it'll be a lot of fun. And we're working on some guests to get down there as well. Pierre, I won't say their names, but I did reach out to 2 GMs. I forgot to tell you this, but I'll tell it now for our listeners and viewers. So I check in here and I reach out to 2 GMs to see if they can come down at some point this week. And what do I get back? The same picture from each of them because they were together.
I thought you were going to say, well, come on, as long as McGuire's not there.
No. They said, tell Pierre hello. We're looking forward to trying to get down there. So I'll tell you off air who they are, but hopefully they can join us. But obviously, guys, thanks a lot for your questions. We are excited to be here in Montreal, and we're looking forward to being at McLean's Public House, 1420 Peel Street, tomorrow, Thursday, and Saturday, 6 to 7 p.m. Until then, he's Pierre McGuire. I am Jimmy Murphy. Have a great night.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.